hills, forests, etc. were all pleased. And they used to supply their respective quota of taxation to the king. The secret to success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavors on the strength of tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is the Daiva or the Supreme. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of the people. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, the oceans, the forests, the hills, drugs, etc. are not creations of man. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord, and the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for service of the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people, and therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity, see, nice statement. But to produce a new species of humanity at the present moment on the basis of philosophy and religion, on the basis of justice and peace, on the basis of God consciousness and perfection of human life, the ideology of godly communism, the world has again to follow in the footsteps of kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira or Parikshit. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without any enmity between men or animals and man or nature. Everywhere the control of the Lord is there, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of nature will be pleased. The river will flow, the river will flow profusely and to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantity of minerals, pearls and jewels. The forest will supply sufficient wood, drugs and vegetables, and the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of life, depending on factories and tools, can render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of the mass of the people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this the mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of vested interest by exploiting natural reserve, and therefore there is acute competition between individual individual and nation. There is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of the modern civilization by comparison here, and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthira to cleanse man and wipe out what? Anachronisms. Doesn't चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देव्ये गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So a couple of weeks back we had discussed the previous verse, and partly this verse also, today's verse also we have discussed in the last couple of weeks ago. So just to again set the context back, that's why we read this verse once more, because there was a gap of a week. So a couple of weeks back when we discussed, we had enumerated upon a model of governance called as elder brother model of governance. We all have an idea of how elder brother model works. I mean, how an elder brother behaves in a family in the midst of the parents, right? We have understood that in a family, the elder sibling, takes care of the younger ones, out of love and affection and care. Sometimes if the younger one does something, the elder brother takes the responsibility. If something else, sometimes if the younger one does something wrong, the parents give a whack saying that why you did not teach. Okay. So this kind of a idea is already there within our vocabulary of how an elder brother or elder sibling behaves with the younger ones. And we compared that, how if this is to be brought up to the level of village, brought up to the level of the state at large, how various in the idea of the varnashram, in the Daivi Varnashram system, sorry, even not in the Daivi Varnashrams, even in the regular Varnashram system, okay, how with persons who are imbued with higher intelligence, that is the Brahmanas, they have the higher intelligence, they are supposed to take a leadership role in austerities, leadership role in distributing the wealth to the needy in a proper manner. Because a Brahmana is not supposed to hold wealth beyond what he requires for the day's necessity. A Brahmana is not supposed to hold wealth. He is supposed to redistribute the wealth. Right? So a Brahmana is supposed to do that. He is supposed to be austere, not that have some millions and millions of dollars with him, but he's supposed to redistribute. A Kshatriya is so now first we have Brahmanas dealt with wealth and haves and have nots problem. Then comes the, and also Brahmanas also have dealt with the problem of the knowledge. Okay. And then Brahmanical power versus the material power, that physical power. The physical power rested more with the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas were also duly trained to, to be under the overall guidance of the Brahmanas. And Brahmanas anyway are not supposed to rule, and hence they are completely independent of rulership. Okay. So, and then comes the Kshatriyas will rule over the humans, and the lower animals and the wealth generation is given the responsibility to the Vaishyas. So there are three things are there. One is knowledge, another is the physical strength or the Brahminical tejas or the Brahminical power or physical power. Second one is power. Third one is the wealth. Okay, knowledge, power, and wealth. So these three things we have now seen that if it is through the elder brother model of governance, wherein Yudhishthir Maharaj was always, connected with his Supreme Father, Lord Krishna, okay, and he was duly doing the administration, and because he is connected to the Ajita, the Lord, Supreme Lord, and all the products of material creation, and we know that material creation comes from the Lord Himself, Kisa Ekshata Sahasrajata, right? When He has, glanced upon the material nature, then the creation took place, and whatever is the entire variety. When you say about creation, it has the all the eight energies. What are the eight energies? Hmm? Bhumi, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kam, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara. Okay? All the eight different energies of the Lord, were set forth in creation. And whatever are the varieties, which came and manifested in the form of all these things like the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, active drugs in every season paid their quota to the king in profusion. So the king got whatever is required for the necessities of the society profusely, because the king was very well connected and he was a authorized agent of the Lord. Okay. So Lord is considered as what? Okay. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko yo bahuna vidadati kamaha. Okay. Lord is the one who is supplying the requirement, necessities. Eko yo bahuda vidadati kamaha. He is the one who satisfies the desires of everyone, every living entity in this world, whether it is human or non-human or other, lower forms of species of life or higher forms of species of life, the devas. Every living entity is cared for by the Lord. Every living entity is supplied by the care of the Lord. Okay. So that care of the Lord is distributed by a king, Naradeva, who is supposed to be a Dharmaraja, who is a representative of the king, of the Lord. The king is the representative of God, and he is supposed to profusely distribute it as an authorized supplying agent. So the word used is agent. So there is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without any enmity between man or animal or man or nature. So that's a very important word used here. Agent knows how to rule without enmity. Okay. So the word used here, here below, if you see here, there is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. So there has to be an agent of the Lord who is trained, and he has to control the resources. And how he has to control the resources? So that live comfortably without any enmity between man or animal, man or nature. You discussed in the previous verse that the modern system of, capitalistic view or the class struggle, which is, told by the communistic ideologies, is about who controls the resources, who will exploit the resources for the benefit of whom. That's the idea, right? So here we see that if they are trained agents of the Lord, okay, they know how to do it in such a way that there is no enmity between men or animal and man or nature. Currently, the current modern democracies only deal with the idea that this entire thing, it's only procedurally done. It's not, with all the intention, right? Today, democracy is more of procedure than of the reality. Okay. In procedure, all humans who are having age of more than 18 are eligible to vote, and then they come and express their adult franchise, and then after expressing of the adult franchise, they will vote a particular person as the leader for next 5 years or 6 years, whatever is the constitution says. But they are not bothered about the other praja, that is the living entities, nor are they concerned about the nature. And both of them, that is other animals and nature, are also part of the creation of the God. And they also have to get duly the supplies which the Lord has already ensured for them. The king has to ensure, the ruler has to ensure that all animals and the nature are all duly protected and cared for. So now we've read this. Before going to the next verse, which is the actual verse which I want to deal with, okay, I want to introduce one interesting thing, which interesting philosophy, which was brought out in the early 1900s by Gandhi. It is called as Gandhian Trusteeship model of governance. When there was so much of aggression between the capitalists and the communists, right? Communists have captured the power in Russia in 1920 or so. Okay, just after the World War. Okay, just after the World War. I think if I'm not wrong, just after the World War. Okay, First World War. The communists take over the entire Russia. Okay, for the next 20 years or so, I think 20, 30 years or so, there was very aggressive takeover of the state and punishing of lot of people with lot of coercive methods. Okay, the wealth was taken over from the landlords and the industrialists and put into the hands of the state. Okay, there was one aggressive, almost like a rowdy type, or very aggressive behaviors. Okay, which Prabhupada also said that it is very, very non-godly in nature. On the other hand, there were these capitalists. They are holding money, then they moved that money power into power, money power into this governance power and all of those things, taking over the governance. And they also use the wealth to take over the intelligence, right? So there was this fight between these two. Then came the Gandhian trusteeship model of governance. What is that Gandhian trusteeship model of governance is? Gandhi said that if you are owning wealth more than your necessity, it is you are acting as a trusteeship on behalf of the proletariat, means on behalf of the mass of have-nots. There's a lot of poverty in India at that time, right? He gave it as a moral responsibility. Okay, even we had so many great, businessmen in India in those days, like Jamnalal Bajaj. Hmm? All such great industrialists also have subscribed to this idea of Gandhi. Gandhi did not say, hey, you capitalists, you get out of the factories. You don't want the factory. You give it to the poor, or you give it to the state. Gandhi did not say that. Gandhi rather said that, yes, you are earning this wealth from society. Say if a Bajaj is able to make a scooter and sell a scooter to the society, and the profit is coming, right? Profit is coming because the society is paying for the price and the profit is accruing in the hand of the Bajaj. What the Bajaj should do, he should think that this wealth he is holding is on behalf of the society. And he should use this excess wealth for the benefit of the society at large. If society is not there, you cannot become such a big rich person. Correct? Unless there is enough wealth in the society, wealth cannot come back to the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur should be aware of this idea, the fact that this entire wealth is not mine alone. So hence, I should use the wealth not only for profit making, I should also use the wealth for upliftment of the society. Like what? I should give enough care to the employees who are working, give good wages. Okay. Like what further? Okay. Further, you have still wealth. Use it for, doing welfare activities and things like that. So Gandhi talked about such kind of a trusteeship way of doing it. So this is about the people who are the businessmen. Then how about the people who are like administrators, your whatever IAS or IRS and all such kind of officers, and the people who are the like the not the bureaucrat but the politicians, the politicians and bureaucrats. How the politicians and bureaucrats should behave? The politicians and bureaucrats should also hold the power on behalf of the people as a trusteeship. Not that, hey, I have power I lose my power. Huh? Right, recently in Nepal, some 6 months ago, there's a big hue and cry happened. Huh? There is something called as in social media, Nepo babies. Okay? Who are these Nepo babies? They are the kids of the big leaders who are ruling the entire Nepal. Nepal is filled with unemployment. Okay? But these people are filled with money. Okay? So because of this kind of a huge gap, they became so much of unrest, so much of, they went and ransacked the properties, they killed, so many things have happened, unfortunate things. Okay? So this is not that kind of a holding of power. Gandhi said that you should hold power on behalf of the society, on behalf of especially the poverty stricken people. And your policies and welfare and all of those things should be towards that. Now, having read this, now let's move and read the verse. I mean, having understood the Gandhian trusteeship model, we'll read this. Yeah. Nadyo vyadya kleshaha. Nadyo vyadya kleshaha. Daiva bhutatma hetavah. Ajata shatrau abhavan. Ajata shatrau abhavan. Jantu nam ragnir karhiche. Na, never. Adyaha, adyaha, anxieties. Vyadyaha, diseases. Kleshaha, trouble due to excessive heat and cold. Daiva bhutatma, all due to the body, supernatural power, and other living beings. Etavaha, due to the cause of. Ajata Shatru, unto one who has no enemy. Abhavan, happened. Jantuna, of the living beings. Ragni, unto the king. Karihichit, at any time. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ho. Translation. Due to the kings having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. Kindly repeat the translation. Due to the kings having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To be non-violent to human beings and to be a killer or enemy of the poor animals is Satan's philosophy. In this age, there is enmity against poor animals, and therefore the poor creatures are always anxious. The reaction of the poor animals is being forced on human society, and therefore there is always the strain of cold or hot war between men individually, collectively, or nationally. At the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira, there were no different nations, although there were different subordinate states. There were different subordinate states, right? Matsya, like that, so many, Anartha, like that, so many states we hear. When Krishna is moving from Dwaraka to Hastinapura, uh, we hear various kingdoms' names in the Bhagavatam. Anartha, Saurashtra, Matsya. Like that. No, Andhra was down, no? Is on top, no? Andhra was anyway there. You can. At the time of Maharaj, there were different subordinate states. The whole world was united And the supreme head, being a trained king like Yudhishthira, kept all the inhabitants free from anxiety, diseases, and excessive heat and cold. They were not only economically well to do, but also they were physically fit and undisturbed by supernatural power, by enmity of other living beings, and by disturbance of bodily and mental agonies. There is a proverb in Bengali that a bad king spoils the kingdom and a bad housewife spoils the family. This truth is applicable here also. Because the king was pious, obedient to the Lord and sages, because he was no one's enemy, and because he was a recognized agent of the Lord, and therefore protected by him, all the citizens under the king's protection were, so to speak, directly protected by the Lord and his authorized agents. Unless one is pious and recognized by the Lord, he cannot make others happy who are under his care. There is full cooperation between man and God and man and nature. And this conscious cooperation between man and God and man and nature, as exemplified by King Yudhishthira, can bring about happiness, peace, and prosperity in the world. The attitude of exploiting one another, the custom of the day, will only bring misery. That's the Bhaktivedanta purport. So here we see that in the Gandhian trusteeship model, Gandhi more focused on only two things: wealth, wealth distribution, and power distribution. In his model, there was no much focus on intelligence. Intelligence is very, very important because through intelligence only the world is being moved. Right? Hmm? So the world is getting moved today by human hand, or even the higher powers, the devatas and all of those things, through the intelligence. The intelligence directs the other energies, that is manas, and the gross energies, and even the subtle energies. Right? So in the Gandhian trusteeship model, it is only a moral upbringing. It's very important. Moral is very important at the societal level. In fact, he said that morality is more important than law. Laws can be there. Okay, laws are required. If morality fails, laws are required. Okay, so he's aware of this fact that moral and there is a gap between morality and law. Okay, but the challenge is if there is no trained brahmanas guiding the people of the power, and the people of power have nobody else to look up to than themselves. Okay, and the people of wealth have nobody else to look up to other than themselves. Okay, there is a problem. There is no role model. In the Vedic society, there were role models were there. Because the Brahmanas were naturally not supposed to have wealth. The Brahmanas are naturally not supposed to exercise the power. They were supposed to guide. The person who is guiding is completely independent. He is completely independent of both power and wealth. The person who is guiding, see, Gandhi was doing that. He didn't want to become the prime minister of the country. But unfortunately, that policy is not entailed in the society that there should be some set of people at all levels, who would, properly apply intelligence for the benefit of the society at large. So this is one defect. Another thing which we should contrast, okay, in the Adiparva Mahabharat, in the chapter 214, verse 1 to verse 10, okay, Vaishampayana talks about how Yudhishthira Maharaj, after getting Indraprastha, starts ruling the society at large. Okay. He gives the example of Dehi Dehinaha. Okay, sorry, Dehi and Deha, not Dehi, Dehi, Deha, Deha. Means Yudhishthira considered all the living entities as Atma and himself as body. Very interesting example. Very interesting example was given. Huh? So, so, so the way so nicely he has covered that there is no much difference in the needs of Atma and body for a normal person, right? So Yudhishthira considered him like himself like that. There was so much of affection. Like we'll have so much of affection for ourselves, right? You know? So Yudhishthira considered himself like that and he was ruling. And so much he was nicely ruling, like the way in a body, huh, if the kapha, pitta, vata are fully balanced, there is no disease. Okay. In the society at large, dharma, artha, kama were fully balanced by Yudhishthira's rule. Owing to such kind of a great rule, okay, moksha, who is again personification of Yudhishthira, became automatic. Okay, it's not that if you have to get moksha means you have to get dejected of this world, ayyo bad, always suffering. Uh, Only through suffering way we learn to get out of this world. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Uh, Even if if your necessities are profusely met, uh, if the Vaishyas are getting profusely wealthy, if the Kshatriyas are profusely using their power, okay, and if the Brahmanas are nicely using their intelligence and things like that, okay, and happy, doesn't mean that they cannot go back to Godhead. They can still go back to Godhead by balancing of the Dharma, Artha, Kama. That's what Yudhishthira was demonstrating in just 10 verses. Vaishampayana, nicely, glorifies the rule of Maharaj Yudhishthira. So again, it is the same thing that every level there should be an idea that I am not going to exploit the resources for my benefit. Unfortunately, be it the communistic ideology or the communistic ideology, or be it far right or far left, the whole ideology is about how to exploit one another. Okay, there's no sense of love and care and a reflection that everybody is part of the same family. Okay, so those can happen only if there is Krishna consciousness. So the Prabhupada talks about conscious cooperation. The word Prabhupada used is conscious cooperation between man and God and man and nature is only possible if there is a overall understanding that we are parts and parcels of God and His creation is also for everybody. Okay, Gandhian system also talked about the society, the God, everything is belonging to God. But again, because of lack of understanding of the complete construct, it also has not survived through. And apart from that, see, the real issue here is competition, right? Competition. Why competition comes into place? Sorry. Enmity is there, okay, competition is arriving because is it arise? Competition is arising, is it because of enmity?
Attitude of exploitation.
Attitude of exploitation, okay?
Resources.
Because resources are limited. Competition, the idea of competition comes into mind when the resources are limited. But are the resources limited? This is a fundamental theological difference, ideological difference. Our fundamental assumption in the theory of our God-centric ideology is that God has enough for everybody. God has enough for every living entities. eko bhavanamayo vidadati kamaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. From the complete only comes. So hence, there is no necessity of competition. Competition is not coming because of limited resources. Competition is coming out of something else.
Wanting to have over possess the control.
Greed. In fact, Gandhi also recognized this, that there is enough for everybody's need in this world, but not for everybody's greed. Right? Gandhi also recognized this important principle. Okay. Having said that, unless you have the love and care of sharing with everybody, okay, that you are connected to the everybody, okay, this thing cannot really work. Okay. Uh, so then see, a greed is for what? Generally, a person will be greedy for what? For his family, right? So Gandhi was saying that you give up greed and feel that everything is for the people. So for my family, how will I extend to the for the people? Without having the understanding that I am connected to the God is not clear. So next is that another thing is that greed is greed bad? Is greed bad?
How to use it?
Huh?
How to use your greed?
So greed is bad when there is no sense of responsibility. Greed is okay if you have a greater sense of responsibility to the entire people, right? When Prithvi Maharaj saw that earth was not giving enough, producing enough, he became very angry. He wanted to kill Mother Earth. Huh? How can you not provide for my citizens? Right? So there is another sense of responsibility is there. So greed should be balanced by sense of responsibility to the subjects. So there is everywhere there is we can nicely compare and contrast. How uh, these principles will get balanced out if there is this mentality of an understanding of love and care and things like that. Another important thing is enmity. So now today, enmity arises out of competition, as Mataji said. Okay, because I want to have more. Okay, I want to have this. Okay, so this everything has to be balanced with our need. If need is fulfilled, okay, so then there is no need for so much of extremity of so see, obviously, see, if you're in Mumbai, there you see one big Anatalia, big huge building built by Ambani. On the other side there is slum. Obviously enmity will be there. Obviously enmity will be there, right? So these are the things, which, we can look at it, that, the attitude of exploiting one another, the custom of the day, will only bring misery. So we have to read and read this Prabhupada's purpose. Prabhupada is talking about godly communism, right? And again, if you see the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto itself, huh, Prabhupada talks about godly communism in the introduction. Here or in the godly communication, I think it's preface, I think, right? Yeah, so in the preface. So Prabhupada talks about it so much. So we should understand this, Prabhupada's philosophy, and try to think about how, godly communism can be, even to the world at large. Anybody has any questions?
This is about the greed, Prabhu.
Huh?
See, about the greed, what you mentioned.
Yes.
So when it is, of course, it is for the people, but unless it is applied in a larger scale, for example, Trump, he wants his country to become, powering actually. He's greedy, but only for his country, and that imposes a lot of problems for others. Same is the case for even Hitler. He was trying to do that for his country or a particular race within his country. So it is for the people, but the moment a narrow application of that happens, then it creates a lot of.
Correct. Any circle which is other than God-centric circle will have to crash with other circle. Okay, it is true. So the greed, if at all, has to be applied, it has to be applied and dovetailed as per the principles of Dharma, given by Krishna. Not that, as rightly said, if Trump thinks that, I have to do for the benefit of the Americans only. So he is greedy for the sake of Americans. No. The greed has to be for the universal benefit with God-centric idea.
The concept is one nation. Many states, but one nation.
Many states, but one nation. Yeah.
To say the same thing in serving Lord. Reading serving Lord.
Okay. How to see this in our context of serving the Lord? So greed, you're saying, right? So we should be greedy for having right consciousness while serving the Lord. We should be greedy that, in the service of the Lord, how the best only can be given. Okay. So much so, like, there is a pastime, right? Of Panihati, what is that place? What is that great devotee name? I'm forgetting his name. Raghavera Chela. What's his name?
The
Huh? Not Kolavech, it's Raghavera Chela. Raghavera. That in Panihati, that devotee used to live, na? What's his name? He was so much conscious of how to serve the Lord. So once one servant, okay, takes he'll order the one servant to go and buy coconuts. Okay. Huh? Raghavera Chela, we say, no, what's his name here? I'm forgetting. Full name of Raghavananda. Damayanti's sister. What is her brother name? Okay, anyway. So, he's so conscious about the deity worship, right? So that servant comes, he buys the coconut, he cuts it. When he was offering, he puts one hand on top of the altar. Raghav Pandita, correct. Okay. Is it Raghav Pandita only? Correct? And then he gives. Then the devotee sees what you have done. Touch dust. The dust has come. It's not offerable. Yo, it is so far away. I have to go again. Come and get it. No, you should go and get it. So, in Lord service, we can be greedy. Like this. No, Lord has to be offered the best only. Full cleanliness. So again, you'll go. Timely offering. No, that is his personal this thing, no? Maybe Lord was allowed to be thirsty for a while. That's the relationship, right? But what I'm trying to say is, how much you can be greedy for serving the Lord nicely. But then, Lord is along with his Tadiya and all his paraphernalia are the Vaishnavas, right? So we should balance it out also, serving the Vaishnavas also. Not that in the name of being the best, doing best service to Lord, I will only do the best service of the Lord, others should not do.
Not alone.
Or not allowing others to do, or stepping on others. That also has to be balanced.
So, Sabari, the way she was eating jamun and giving it to Ram.
Hmm.
So that also, in a sense, is she wants to give the tastiest.
Yes, yeah, correct.
Yes.
Hmm.
So that also, in a sense, is probably greed.
Correct, correct, correct. So all of those will come in different places and times and circumstances, like Vidura.
Banana.
One is banana, that is out of love. There's no greed over there,
Hmm.
right? So he was always hell bent that in the Kurusabha, always the best only happens. Right? He was the best advisor. He was always, despite so many reverses and all of those things, and all, right? So, like that, we have to apply these things that, the best only should be offered to the Lord in our service. Yeah. Actually, there is so much to understand from Yudhishthira's role as contrasted with Duryodhana's role. When Yudhishthira, after ruling so nicely, the Indraprastha for many years, then they will do that gambling, right? And then he loses everything. And then there is a pressure actually on Duryodhana to rule very good, very nicely. Very nicely. Because, Yudhishthira has ruled very, very nicely. So when the Prajas, after he comes back, obviously the Prajas will want it. And because of that, he has to give away his some of the power at least. In his mind, there was no power share at all. Yudhishthira was kept on offering back power share. Okay? Coexist. Coexistence was not there in the mind of Duryodhana. Right? So Duryodhana, even though he ruled very, very nicely, okay, but the Mahabharata talks about it. How did he consider the officers? I think if I'm not wrong, as kine and asses. The word used is kine and asses. Okay, so not as as part and parcel of the Lord. Hmm? So, but he used to ensure that good governance is there. But that good governance has its limitation because it was filled with the idea that the envy and all of those things are there. So there's a nice contrast also in Mahabharata is there between Duryodhana's rule versus Yudhishthira's rule.
Without having a God-centric,
Hmm.
if somebody does an action where, as you said, nature and human should be cooperative, and human and God should be cooperative. So where China has taken up the mission of planting the more trees in the desert, when the and planet will thank them.
And
Planet will thank them. They put more plants. So like that, with that perspective, they put in more trees in the desert and putting more water in it. Will it be considered as a lauded towards the nature or cooperative nature?
see, the whole point here is attitude of action is more important than what the action is actually resulting in. Right? Attitude of action is very, very important. That's why we call our society as Krishna consciousness society. You do the same thing, converting the desert into an evergreen forest, like in Dubai they did or whatever. Whatever they're doing in Middle East or in this thing, right? So it is the attitude which is more important. If the attitude is not right, after doing a particular action of so-called benevolence, the benevolence is done to exploit that particular that benefit. Right? Say in Dubai, what they do all this creation, so many neem trees, so many that tree, this tree, and everything for what? Again, to exploit. Exploit one. The whole issue is the exploitative mentality. That is what we have to address. It is for me or it is for my greater set of people. Now, again, greater set of people, how it is getting distributed? Again, that's another issue. Trump may work for the Americans, but then Americans, how are they dividing? That's again a big question. Right. So that's what it is.
Just another point, probably.
Hmm.
Actually, Duryodhana was advised, many times Krishna himself advises him. But he said, see, I know about Shastras, I know about right, but I'm not able to really follow it. I'm not able to apply it.
Hmm.
That is, I don't know whether there are situations like this where your knowledge is different from application of knowledge.
Yeah, the knowledge versus application of knowledge, the gap will be all these things, right? Attachment, Rishad Vargas, these are all things which will come into place. And main thing is that, that nodding over ideas and all of those things are there. So fundamentally, again, consciousness is the most important thing which has to, which plays a very important role. Because you can say so many things. So, say when after Gandhi passed away, Vinoba Bhave also came up with this Bhudan movement and things like that and all. There was so much pressure they used to create for the rich men to give up their wealth voluntarily and all of those things and all. So much pressure they used to create.
97% tax also.
Huh?
97% income tax.
Land wealth tax.
Yeah, well. Income tax also.
Indira Gandhi's period,
Hmm.
they are the highest 97% tax.
There you
It might be for the rich, super rich, but still,
go.
it's very high.
But so many methods and where there is no change of consciousness will not be effective. It will lead to some other kind of a dominance, or it will lead to some kind of a crazy situation. Ultimately, nobody was interested in producing. Nobody was interested in producing. What is the point? All my income is going for tax. Why you should work? Let me be happy. Like that. So anybody has questions online? Okay. So before we stop the session, some few announcements. So next week, I think on Saturday, we are having the Ashraya ceremony. So maybe those who are all known to us, still they're yet to take up this answering questions and Ashraya and things like that. I would suggest we should try to, encourage them to finish the papers and let them to take Ashraya. And then the next day on 22nd evening, that is next Sunday evening, we are planning to have the grand Abhisheking for the Gaur Nitai deities. Shri Gaur Nitai ki. Okay. So we wish to do a grand Abhishekam in the Chaitanya Sojas guest clubhouse. So we would request all of you to come forward and spread this message. We'll be shortly sharing the a poster and things light up and all of those things and link. Maybe we'll send it in today itself early, so that it can be circulated and informed to the all people whom we know. And we would request the devotees to actually subscribe quickly, because as we know, there is an immense shortage of gas cylinders. Even yesterday I was talking to Prabhu Vishnu, he was struggling to get gas cylinders for our prasadam. Okay, that's a big problem everybody's having. So we have to be mindful about these things. Of course, Akshay Patra can cook without the gas.
Same model maybe.
But Akshay Patra cannot cook nice sabjis, right? It is only steam-based cooking. Khichdi can come nicely, no problem. But other things, so. Okay. Huh?
Gravy subjects and all can't come.
Okay. So request devotees to subscribe to, so that we'll get proper understanding,
So what time to what time?
Mostly that will be in the evening. I have not yet planned the.
Book also.
Huh?
Clubhouse.
We have to book the clubhouse also.
Sunday evening.
Sunday second half, you can say. Okay. And that is one thing. So another thing, as a